Okay, is it good?
Did
There we go. No,
is it enabled?
I'm so sorry. I did not think it'd be this bad. I'm trying to click it. Um,
That's cool.
I thought I made you host because of this. Let's see.
Uh, there,
Ah,
it's working now.
there you go.
Cool. Can everyone see that?
Yep, we can see it.
Mhm. Great. All right. Yeah, we're going to talk about um, communication for devs this week, which is obviously something that everyone's been doing for the last few weeks, or more than a few weeks. But yeah, so communication is key. And so when we talk about communication for devs, there's obviously Slack, um, there's GitHub, and there's kind of just all these different ways of sharing knowledge, like both through the code base and just through your conversations with the team. So start by talking about documentation. The documentation is I think like documentation, you know, we're talking about documenting code, but then we're also talking about communicating in Slack visibly, right? Um, where Slack has this beautiful thing where you can search history. So like when you have conversations through Slack, they're almost self-documented, which is kind of one of the beautiful things about it. So you'll remember like, what did I do again? And then obviously writing things down helps you learn. It's a great tool for revisiting big decisions, like remembering why you did something, which is sometimes a funny thing to come back to like code a month later and being like, wait, why did I do this? And yeah, it's useful for onboarding new team members. This is for sure true. Just being able to see the why about code in a bunch of different places, and even see the conversation that led up to being created is really valuable. Um, and yeah, it avoids institutional knowledge, so you don't have like the one person on the team who knows, they're the only person who knows that service works, and then they leave and nobody knows what's going on. Like when you're documenting out in the open, a lot of that stuff gets avoided, and it empowers everybody. That's kind of like the other hand of the institutional knowledge is review. Some tips for how to do that is write for the person who knows the least. So don't make like assumptions of knowledge of, when you're coding or documenting code. Assume that everything should be explained as much as possible. Optimize for the person who needs a quick reference. So again, that's like in formatting, just so like people can look quickly and see something. They don't have to like read, a long paragraph in English just to like find one little like constant in the middle of it. And then, yeah, a documentation example for this is the React Router docs, which are very good, even though this is probably old at this point because React Router, um, the 10 stack router, which I think is the newer version, is also very well documented. And just all those libraries, all of his different projects are really well documented. Excuse me. Pull requests. These you're also familiar with. This is a great place to communicate with the team. And so, yeah, in pull requests, when you're writing your description, the reason behind choices, and anything that might be helpful in that way. And then, yeah, a big part of interviewing is talking and walking through code. So this is kind of like, if you're on the job search, you can kind of go back through your PRs and it'll be a helpful way to kind of jog your memory for why you did something in code. Um, and yeah, I think a robust weeks ago, but yeah, I think looking at PRs is just like one of the best ways to learn a code base. like if you're coming into, because you'll see like, you know, how the comments and conversation goes, you'll see what the PR description's like, and then you actually see the code changes, which I personally find like the, you know, the diffs way more enlightening than like the code itself, because a lot of times it's can be a house of cards that was like built up one layer at a time, and it can be hard to understand it when you just like drop into the current state. But seeing the changes I find to be very helpful. And the how, yeah, so this is something that we've all been working on. So adding screenshots and GIFs and videos, with links to resources and permalinks to code. So that means like if you're using a library or you find some documentation that was really helpful, like direct linking to that kind of stuff is really helpful. And self-review before asking others to review your code. I would hope that everyone kind of does that, you know, where you're just like give your code a real once over or twice over, or you request reviews. And then, yeah, keeping PRs small and narrowly scoped. I think this is just a good idea. It can be easy for things to get out of hand, but if possible, it's really nice to keep it kind of one functionality and nothing else. And then, yeah, there's a link to a PR description here, which I can put in Slack, but I would assume it's fairly similar to like the template that you have been working on. Comments in code give your team more context while they're actively tracing through code that you implemented. And code in some ways can be self-documented, but the decisions behind the code is not always self-apparent. And I would say like, you know, code being self-documented, like if like all the variables being like really meaningful is part of that. So it's like if your variable name is code like less useful for other developers, right? But yeah, you know, the rule of thumb is like comments on some level should be more focused on the why than the how, because the how is like the code self-documenting. But I think even in some ways that, you know, that's not a totally true story, where it's like there are some times where the how is helpful, especially like when you have lots of like branching logic, like if statements. And I find it personally, when I'm reading code, I really prefer to see like somebody talking through like, oh, why are they doing all these different like branches of an if else, like what are these for, in like plain English, because it can just be like a lot of different information to try to like figure out on your own. Some hows to that is focus on the why. I guess I kind of already went over this, but yeah, focus on the why rather than what the code does. And then it looks like there's some code comments from Reach UI. Maybe can I go to this? Yeah, so this is kind of exactly what I was saying, right? So this is like explaining why this like branching logic is happening, this kind of idea where it's like, yeah, if multiple. So it's like, yeah, you kind of assume what that means, but I think it's helpful to have it really explicitly written out, what like some branching logic is doing. And if anyone has any questions, obviously feel free to interrupt me. And yeah, so I guess here we can brainstorm. What of the people have experiences with documentation and PR descriptions and code comments and all that kind of stuff? I mean, even in like, you know, the starter project for this project, I think there's some pretty strong code comments and like everything was fairly well documented and stuff like that. But I guess even then, like there were some issues with like finding the documentation with like, you know, the calculate estimate function and stuff like that. So obviously it hasn't been totally like self-explanatory. But yeah, does anyone have any like want to share their experience, even in it could be in other projects or this project?
Okay, can you guys hear me? Because I do have a question. Yes, yeah. Okay.
Yes.
I actually was curious for Lauren and Tim what your guys' experience has been with documentation where you guys work at. And even like
Yeah.
quality of products too. That would be, yeah, I'm curious.
Yeah, totally. So the code base that I came into had literally zero documentation and it was written by two people. And it was entirely like illegible mostly. And I've been trying to document like everything as much as I can, basically like learning a code base. I mean, I was given the green light to do this, which is nice. Basically be like, yeah, when I'm reading through code for the first time, like I was told to like basically document stuff as I go so that like the next time somebody comes in, they don't have to deal with the same experiences that I had.
Yeah, I think a lot of, let's see, we could definitely improve in the amount of documentation we have, but in all of our, even the small projects, we like in the README, we want to make sure we have everything we needed to get started. Environment, like an explanation of what different environment variables mean and where they can be found. So like for us, it's bitwarden or some share pass thing. Kind of sometimes we do an overview of the file structure just to point to places where there's kind of like entry points for things. And yeah, we're always working on improving that. And some of the bigger projects we've had, like UAT cycles, and then we're writing very detailed instructions on how to test. And then some of those are being incorporated into more permanent documentation. And we also have like a release documentation. So it's like it's more complicated, so there's more steps, and then therefore each cycle we make sure that and for the honestly the most helpful thing for the PR is we stole this PR description. So we have that in some of our projects, and it's helped a lot because it's like a gentle prompt for what you should include so that if you don't have it, people tend to just write one big paragraph and that's it. So
It's true.
Totally. And like, so I'm the first like fully remote person like on my team. So everyone else is like in office. And so there wasn't a lot of async communication going on. Like we have Slack and Slack channels and people used it, but like it still seemed like there's a lot of conversation going on, just like in person. And so I've also brought some of that, like the PR descriptions and like just being really active on the PR. I've brought that to the team that I work on, and even and like my manager is like excited, not even just for like me being remote for that, but like it just helps everybody like stay on the same page and like remember where things were when like that conversation is happening like on a PR versus like in person.
Mm-hmm.
Viviana, what was your experience like?
I don't know if I feel like I keep phrasing, right? Or can you hear me?
Nothing.
Yeah, you can go ahead.
You are a little bit.
Yeah, go ahead and skip me. Sorry.
Oh, having bad internet. So sad. But yeah, does anyone like Olivia, do you have feelings after your oh, it's cool. I was gonna say, Olivia, you started a new role. Like, how do you feel that what the documentation of your new group is like?
It's interesting because like the training has been like well documented. There's like a ticket that everybody goes through. So like that's been really nice. But the work that we do is like we're not building like big code bases. We're just making like small banner ads. So it's really interesting that like maybe like 20% of them are even like with version control. The rest is just like living on people's desktops, and when they're done they like put it in this like code sharing platform so like other people can see it. So it's like very interesting because in some ways it reminds me of like my old job where we tried to do like what I feel like people in code do, but like we didn't have that skill, and they're like kind of doing that here. So it's like interesting. So I don't really know, because nobody's like commenting in code, because it's like 50-line JavaScript files, and it's just like just animations, and it's like if it looks good at the end, everybody's happy. So yeah, I don't know. It's interesting. I will say the comment in the slideshow about writing as if your like audience has like the lowest level knowledge, and writing so that they can like access points really easily was something that when I was in my old job, I started doing with my emails. And I noticed like the minute I started doing that, the amount of like back and forth was like cut in half. So I think that's a really good point to be like, just assume they don't know anything and they have no time to read it. And I feel like that's just way more successful, like in any writing that you're doing in this kind of environment.
Totally. Yeah, I think even when like people are really knowledgeable, it's easy to assume a lot of like, even if they're knowledgeable, doesn't necessarily mean like what you're talking about is like at the top of their brain, right? So it's like, I don't know. I find my manager sometimes will talk to me and I'm like I feel like I know what you're talking about, but like I feel like I'm missing specifics. Like, and then it just like a whole like back and forth has to happen. And yeah, so it's so nice to just have as much information given to you up front as possible.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, especially like, I don't know, for me, a pet peeve is if in PRs there's not testing steps, and I'm not, you know, I'm maybe looking at someone else's that I haven't been involved in the dev work in a while, and it's just like it takes so much extra time to figure it out on your own. And if someone just wrote it out for me, it would be much more efficient in it being able to help. So yeah, for me, it's out of laziness. I want better instructions.
I mean, totally. I think that's a very valid reason. Because yeah, it could like trying to reverse engineer the whole idea is like what you have to do almost if they don't have like good testing explanation.
I have a
Lizzie,
question.
were you saying something? Or sorry.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah, Lizzie was saying something.
I was saying it's not laziness, it's efficiency.
There you go.
It's not a bug, it's a feature. Yeah, so my question is, we definitely want to do REMI. Something we're really excited about. And one question I have is, I usually see like license at the bottom of some of the repos. What should we do there?
That's a big question. I'm honest, like off the top of my head, I would have to like look it up. But is there? I don't think there's a license on like the general. Yeah, there's not. I mean, I guess like the MIT license I know is like a good general license, but honestly, I'm not totally sure, and I probably shouldn't even answer this question because yeah, it would just be purely like I'd just be like making stuff up. But yeah, I don't know. I do know the MIT license is like a license that a lot of people use, but I don't know anything about it.
Yeah, I'm not sure either. That would actually be a great question to put in the main channel, the
Yeah.
cohort channel, because I'm sure Andrew and others would have like
Totally.
very interesting
That's a
things
really
to
good
say.
idea. But yeah, Lizzie said the Creative Commons license as well. But yeah, this would be a good question for the larger organization. Because yeah, I haven't like worked on anything that's like gotten to the point where it needs like an open source thing where it needs a license. So that's a really good question.
Okay.
Cool. Yeah. Does anyone else have any thoughts about this learning module? It yeah, it feels like you've already got like issues and stuff all assigned out and stuff. So I don't know if there's anything else we really need to do here. Lauren, I don't know if you have any thoughts.
Yeah, I don't think so. It sounds like you all are very organized and everything. So I don't remember who off the top of my head is doing office hours this week.
That'd be me.
Okay, yeah. So and since it's the last week, I'm sure all the mentors will probably want to look at the code and everything. But you can ping me for whenever to look at for and I'll try to be on top of it so you can move quickly.
Totally. Cool. Well, if anything else anyone wants to talk about?
Are any of you doing Career Lab? Or do you have any questions on that?
Yeah, good call. That's a great experience.
Does Career Lab have async meetings too?
I
Or
think
sorry,
they're-
sync meetings? Like weekly, like we do here?
Not like this, no. They'll be like, I'm trying to remember exactly, but I think there's like generally there's checkpoints along the way that you're going to be a part of, but there's not like a cohort kind of meeting like this.
I think they have several group meetings that are recorded so that people can see them after if they can't make them. And then you set up some individual ones for like a practice interview and a LinkedIn review and things like that. But otherwise, I don't think there's too many. It's not like it's only 2 weeks long, so it's not expected to be the same type of commitment. Yeah.
Right now, it's all the placeholders all scheduled on the 28th. I'm wondering, is that the actual schedule or
Probably not.
for the whole morning? It's like from 7, well, Pacific time.
Yeah,
to noon.
that doesn't sound right to me. I'm sure there's just like an intro call that will probably be, I wouldn't think would be more than an hour. I would assume it'd be less. But then you'll have probably like, maybe 2 other calls a week, basically. At least that's what it was last time.
Yeah, the things I remember are LinkedIn interview, you'll do a practice interview, I think maybe behavioral and maybe, I don't know if I don't think there's there might be a technical.
Yeah, at least
Mhm.
when I did it, it was you did like a job fit interview and a technical interview. So like behavioral and then technical interview, like mock interviews.
Yeah. And I think you get to see, if you want to, they do a mentor interview a mentor, so you can kind of just like be a fly on the wall and not have to do anything. And then there might be a couple other just talks about like useful lecture style talks.
Are you going to interview us for the practice, technical interview or behavioral?
They just assign random mentors. So
I see.
yeah, I think at the start of the week they'll give you a list and then it'll be whoever was doing that part of the interview process. Sorry, mind blinking. They'll give you a list of everybody that you need, and then they'll tell you how to contact them to set up your one-on-ones.
Cool. Looking forward to that.
Yeah, they didn't have it when I was a Collabby, so I think they started right after it. And I've been involved in parts of the process, mostly LinkedIn stuff, which I think that's how my first interaction with Viviana.
I know, isn't that
Oh,
so
nice.
cute? Lauren did the LinkedIn review, like she said, and now I'm working alongside her, which I think is sweet. I remember I was so
That's
nervous
nice.
too. So yeah, it's a cute full circle moment.
And side note too, as soon as you all are done with the program, you're eligible to be mentors also. So, it's really nice to stay involved in this community hopefully you found it to be a nice like resource. But yeah, I know a lot of people that were in my last cohort. They're like, one of them is in charge of scheduling all the things now. So definitely if you are enjoying it, like stay involved and yeah.
I think I'm gonna stick around. My boot camp decided to stop existing, so travel all over here. So I'll stick with this community. The other one's on fire.
Oh no.
Yeah.
I only
Yeah.
found out recently they got rid of the boot camp, the campus in DC for mine. So yeah, similar.
Mm. Yeah, the like ex-CEO just like did this big announcement last week, and she's like, so after these courses are done, all the staff is laid off, all the career services is laid off, we're not doing any more enrollments. And all the recent and current students are like, we paid for career services for 6 months after we finished. And then the old CEO is like, I'm just going to take all of you. It's going to be an upgrade in service. So everybody's pissed. So I'm
Wow.
very curious to see if we end up on the news, because I think we will.
Wow.
Which one? What did you go to?
Juno,
Juno.
previously Hacker U in Toronto.
Hmm.
Yeah. Very interesting.
Hmm. Cool. Well, I guess happy sassing.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, feel free to reach out if you need anything. I would say just like final parting words of styling is like, remember, make sure to think accessibility even when you're doing like fun styles and stuff. Just gonna throw that out there.
Cool.
Cool.
My boss, I really like him. He really likes to just be silent and watch everyone like struggle and be awkward. So let's not do that. Everybody have a really nice Sunday, and we'll see you next week.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Go. Bye for now.